here with at CPAC Mexico with the president of Mis amigos migrantes, pues aquí estoy.
Total catastrophe, and it is a crisis.
Of a child, right there. All these NGOs, you're fake. It is this, the crisis of children.
Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News. It is 11:34 in the morning. Today is Sunday, 2nd of March of the year 2025. Again, this is a topic that is which is sensitive, and I'm beginning to touch a little bit more, which I have remained quiet for basically all my broadcasting life, talking about the cartel and talking about the organized crime, which is extremely dangerous because of the city that I live in. So I had to be really meticulous and sensitive to talk about it, and really careful. But I can start speaking about it because this is a topic that is eventually now a matter of importance that is possibly going to change the perspective of our country, where it's going, Mexico, and the perspective of the border security with the United States of America. What has been going on, it is a massive accusations to to Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, which she just extradited 29 criminal narco terrorists into the United States of America. I did a video posted on X, already has like 300,000 views. This is the number one purpose why she did it. And this is nothing new for Mexicans over here. For a lot of Americans, it is new. This is what is going on over here in our country. The reason why, she did it is just to buy some time. Right now, the guy that is completely a threat for the Mexican politicians and the corrupt politicians in Mexico, it is El Mayo Zambada, which is the kingpin and drug lords of all kingpins in our country. And he is detained and in custody in a federal system, in a high-level security prison in the United States of America. This guy recently sent a message outside saying, if you don't extradite me back to Mexico, message directly to the president of Mexico, I will destabilize the relations between Mexico and the United States of America. This was an immediate threat to every single Mexican and every single, politician in Mexico that it was involved possibly with corruption and narco terrorism with El Mayo Zambada. Immediately after this, the administration of Claudia Sheinbaum started feeling the pressure because Canada started calling it and saying, you know what, we're going to name them as terrorists. Then, ultimately, also, the United States of America took the initiative to say these groups are terrorists. This is what they're doing. This decapitation. Just yesterday there was black bags over here that it was found in Tijuana with human remains. Still, we're seeing this. In our city of Tijuana and the cities that they are border city and border towns, we're seeing a lot of human remains being left over. It is a kind of like a signature for the cartels for them to get noticed, and to send a message. But what happened was, she started feeling the pressure of now you have to name them terrorists, right? And she immediately justified herself that the United States of America is trying to invade the sovereign nation of Mexico and trying to interfere in the sovereign nation of Mexico. Because if they accept from naming them terrorists, now the United States has the right to enter or to negotiate entry to eliminate and eradicate this problem, right? So Mexico, being a leftist government right now, said, and the United States always goes and destabilizes countries. What about your distribution of fentanyl? You're the number one buyer of fentanyl. you're the number one distributor of guns and arsenal into the cartel in Mexico, and you're this, you're that, and what about your CIA, FBI, your agency? What about them? Started justifying themselves with these other things, and because of that, she tried to, and she didn't try. She just initiated a constitutional reform for nobody to intervene in the sovereign nation and nobody to enter under the claim that these groups are terrorists. So basically, what she did was, is this unbelievable what she did and what she's trying to do. Basically, what she's doing is trying to reform the Constitution to make everybody understand that the United States is trying to enter the sovereign nation of Mexico on this patriotic speech. But underneath it all, she's protecting the cartels because she doesn't want nobody to name them as terrorists because they will be completely eradicated from the planet, right? She's talking about somebody else invading the sovereign nation of Mexico, like the United States, but we have been cartel invaded for many years. So who is going to take the initiative? And this is not because of the past political parties or PAN, PRI, Peña, Felipe Calderón, Fox. It's about you right now. What are you going to do about this? This escalated into a point that right now she's trying to change the Constitution to protect these, criminal organizations. This also exposed to these two lawyers. She took a picture. They took a picture of her shaking the hand of the two lawyers that they have. These two lawyers are the most famous cartel lawyers that they have dedicated themselves to defend the cartels. These two lawyers have been bluntly and have been, openly about speaking that they defend the cartels. They're hired to defend the cartels. And you understand why these people are not prosecuted, why these people are still having the audacity and the authority to practice law in defending criminals. And they don't hide this. So, they don't hide the fact that they protect the cartels. Look at this video. And before I go, Buy Me a Coffee is right there on the top. People want to contribute to my independent reporting and travel fund. We're risking, everything to open up and to speak about these topics. So appreciate your contributions and donations. So look at this video and what this guy says. It has captions on it. This is one of the lawyers. I posted this video on X. It's kind of like a 5-minute video what I posted on X, but now I'm trying to talk about it on top of it. Look at this. Look how ridiculous this is, man. Look how these people just openly speak about this kind of situation. Look at this.
Ninguna incertidumbre de manifestar que somos abogados del crimen organizado en el país. Defendemos narcotraficantes, sí. Defendemos crimen organizado, sí. Ninguna incertidumbre de manifestar que somos abogados del crimen organizado en el país. Defendemos narcotraficantes, sí. Defendemos crimen organizado, sí.
There's no doubt that we are lawyers for the organized crime. He says that. There's no doubt that we defend narco terrorists. He says it. These people were shaking the hand in a picture with the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum. And you can understand that the strategy of the 25% tariff and pressuring Mexico to name these people as terrorists, it is basically exposing the political party of Mexico to make them look extremely bad. Extremely bad. They're in the eyes of the world right now, they are looking as they are defending terrorists. They're defending, they're defending the cartels. Basically, that's the way that it's looking. And these lawyers are coming out and saying it in the way, in front of everybody, like they don't care. Hey, play the video again. Just watch the captions as I'm playing the video again.
Ninguna incertidumbre de manifestar que somos abogados del crimen organizado en el país. ¿Defendemos narcotraficantes? Sí. ¿Defendemos crimen organizado? Sí.
It's unbelievable. So due to that factor, border security has escalated. Just recently, they changed the operations. We were going to go to San Luis Rio Colorado and then Mexicali, but they changed it. The National Guard changed the security operations. So we went to another place that it was, that it was really insecure. Back in 2019, I discovered this place. I went over there on my own. I saw, I remember when I saw it, and people that have been following me for quite some time, they remember that I used to walk on the border wall, and I used to go up mountains and walk on mountains and do all this kind of stuff. And I remember that I saw on the other side of the mountain, almost to Tecate, the other municipal city close to Tijuana, I saw an opening gap, and I said, "What the hell is that?" So for me to get there, it took me a couple of days. First day I went over there and I, went around with the car and trying to find a way to get up all the way up there, and it was difficult, and it was just too sketchy. It was a lot of cartel presence. There's a lot of sketchy cars, sketchy houses, sketchy people. So I got out of there. I went in there early, like at 9 o'clock in the morning. Got out of there like around 1 o'clock in the evening. I said, I think I can come in tomorrow, and I can go in through this route now. So I went the next day. I went through the other route and went, to the opposite side. I noticed how to get to the opposite side, and I went all the way up. When I went up there, it was really difficult to get there. It was a bumpy road, and it's not concrete. It's not this nice road. It is just dirt terrain. And we got there, and there was a house. There was an old man with his family, and I brought them some food. And I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm a journalist. I'm over here trying to just broadcast this open border gap, and trying to get over here and show what's going on." Went over there a couple of times, and COVID came in. Nothing was going on over there that I noticed. But then later on in 2021, I went over there again, and that is when we realized that it was not the same. Cartel had everything controlled. Houses, they bought a lot of property over there. The reason why is because, it's just a matter of the way that they control the areas, they start buying these properties, right? And over there, the property is really cheap because it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of the mountain. Nobody wants to live there. So they started buying all these properties. A lot of them, they look like security houses, stash houses. So I remember going over there, and we went up. I went up there alone again for like the fifth or sixth time, and we started hearing some gunshots. And I'm saying we because the old man that was living right there at the house had a son, and he walked with me for a little bit, and he said, "No, it's getting kind of dangerous." So we started hearing some gunshots, and I just realized, like, oh, this is a sign for them to get out, right? So I got out of there. Next time, Ben Berquam came down, and he said, I want to go there. Said, "Brother, it's not safe. It's kind of dangerous." And he said, "Oh, no, I want to go." Like, "All right, let's go. I'm just telling you, it is dangerous." He said, I want to go." So I'm like, "All right, let's go." We went from the back, we went to the mountain, went to the open border gap. People were crossing, and we were staying there for like an hour. All of a sudden, from nowhere, a young kid around 19 years of age came down all the way down from the mountain, all the way to the pitch, got up where we were at, and he approached us, and he said, "Hey, how much time you guys are going to be here?" And I said to Ben, "Let me handle it." So I went over there and like, "What do you mean?" So, "Yeah, how much time you guys are going to be here? We don't want you here anymore. I'm just telling you, you got 30 minutes to leave." I'm like, "Well, who are you?" It's like, "I don't got to tell you my name. You got 30 minutes or else." So I realized and I understood that that area later on, we got out of there, right? Later on, that area, some journalists went over there and they got threatened also. And it was reported by Border Patrol that a lot of shootings were going on that place. Cartel shooting between each other. They were killing basically each other, shooting at each other. And that is the place that I went, a couple of days ago. I went there. I didn't go alone. It's difficult to go alone, although the National Guard is there. You never know what it can happen, right? Because the whole community, it was controlled by them. So I went down there again, and it was a whole different ball game. There's no mass migration. 2 helicopters going back and forth consistently. There's National Guard now. They put an encampment of the Mexican National Guard working with the Border Patrol. Choppers going back and forth. Border Patrol, being consistent, going down, up, down, up. A thing that you didn't see under the Biden administration. Under the Biden administration, you never going to see that. Under Biden was like everybody go in there. Nobody cared. Let the cartel operate, right? But now under, the Trump administration, you actually can hear the drones like high up. And I tell you about the drones because, when I was at Israel in Esdrod, we can hear the drones, on the side of the IDF, and we can hear them. So I kind of like relate the sound. So this time that I was there, I kind of related the sound of the drones being flying back and forth, and it's just like the drones coming back and forth because they're recording. They have a high possibility and a glimpse of vision that the Border Patrol cannot see on this side, right? And plus, you have the helicopters. It's just complete different scenario. Other than that, I wanted to show you guys what the National Guard is doing. The National Guard, not of Mexico, the National Guard of the United States of America. They're putting concertina wire or razor wire, whatever you want to call it, because a lot of people were, my translations from Spanish to English, sometimes it messes up, so I apologize for that. But it's razor wire or concertina wire, whatever you want to call it. So this is what the National Guard of the United States is doing. So this is the Mexican National Guard working on the other side with the American National Guard. The American National Guard, you're seeing them right here. Let me just pause right here. What they're doing is that they're reinforcing. As you see, there's officers right here, and they have all the machinery and all the equipment. And what they're doing is they're putting razor wire all the way to the top, and from the first layer of the wall and the second layer of the wall. Why they're putting razor wire over here? It's not because the average migrant it is going to jump. The average migrant doesn't take that decision upon themselves. The ladder cartel, which is the one that it was doing this, the ladder cartel was putting ladders, and you guys saw me broadcasting this in 2018, 2019. And you see a lot of these ladders being put on the wall and people jumping immediately. You're still going to have some activity, of people crossing illegally. That is going to be really difficult to stop it completely 100%, but it has decreased massively, let me tell you. So now the American National Guard, as you see here, these soldiers putting concertina wire, you see, they're doing their thing. This is American soldiers. These are not, Mexican soldiers. Taking the concertina wire, basically to reinforce. Now you see vehicles, military vehicles on the back. You see concertina wire right here to secure some sections. And the whole section, I'm going to go on Monday, and I'm possibly going to walk the whole section of the wall so you guys can see how they have secured the whole thing. It's not just an area. It's just like a mile or possibly like 2 miles of wall with concertina wire and with razor wire, whatever you want to call it. And these are American troops, which they are basically now being instructed to put razor wire on the wall so the ladder cartel will not, push the migrants on top of the wall, and it will not facilitate for them to come down. They cannot do anything from the Mexican side of the wall. The only thing that they can do is on their side, between these two layers. So what they're doing is, putting this razor wire on this side. So when they come down, they will not have the possibility of coming down and walking immediately. They have to jump all of these obstacles now that is like this razor wire. This is video of the chopper that I'm telling you that it goes back and forth, and is a reality. It goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth from where we were at. This is the open border gap. This is the gap right here that you see. This is the mountain that I told you that right now that I was mentioning. This is the mountain that is completely insecure, which I was mentioning. And this is the gap, right? This is the encampment. This is where, and the craziest thing about it, look, as I told you, for me to get here back in 2018, 17, 18, it was really difficult. This little road that you see right here on the side of the wall right here, right? You see a white truck right here that is the white truck where they transport the National Guard. On the right, just next to the wall, there's a little road, and that is where I got, access back in that day. There was no National Guard. So I got through all that road into the house. So the house that I'm talking about, it's not this concrete one, is where all these tents were at. When I got there just a couple of days ago, I asked the National Guards, like, hey, where's the old guy that used to live here? There's an old man that used to live here, and they said, no, there was a burned house here when we got here. So I said, wow. So somebody burned the house. And they said, like, yeah, possibly there was a cartel hit or a cartel attack, which they do a lot. They displace the people. That is what actually is going on in Michoacán, in Guerrero. What they do is the cartel of Michoacán and Guerrero or Culiacán in the mountains where, the cartel wants to own property or wants to put laboratories or wants to basically recruit the young kids. They notice that there's young kids. So what they do is they fly drones, and the drones have explosives, and the drones are actually the explosive, right? So they land on the houses, and the house gets it gets blown up, and now you don't have a house. Then they go and they kidnap the family, or they recruit the young kid. They say, if you want to live, you need to let me borrow your child, 13, 14, 15-year-old. And if it is a young lady, well, we don't know what happens, right? I don't want to speculate, but bad things happen. So this is the way the encampment looks from the top. You got 3 tents. You got like porta potties right here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 porta potties. You got 4 barrels of water where they're using them for, they're using them to shower and all this kind of stuff, right? This is the way that they basically the way that the encampment looks from the top. And we went over there. We flew the drone a little bit, right? You have around like possibly 50 soldiers, National Guard soldiers. And this is not only the place. They have a lot other place which they go around. This is the neighborhood. Now look at the neighborhood. It's not, it's really difficult the terrain to get there. And it is not easy, and this is a better view for you guys to see how it looks from the top. This is, from the wall, how it looks from the wall. Great video from our guy. We took this video also. This is a 2-layer of the wall. This is a place that it was really agitated. Now, back in 19, I walked all the way. If you see all the way to the back, you see another mountain all the way to the back. I walked from all the way down there, all the way down and up, down and up, down and up. I walked all of that back in 2018, 2019, I believe so. Walked all of that. And let me see if I can get more video of the city, the way that it looks. Talking about the city, the way that it looks. What am I referring to? The way what I'm referencing to is the way the community looks, the way that it looks on the community, because a lot of people do not understand how this community look. And the community the majority of this community is well known, just well known for the enormous trafficking that is on the mountain. Nido de las Águilas, it was a really dangerous part of the city back a few years ago. Now it was not making no noise because the organized crime was controlling the majority of the parts, and they don't want to make noise. They don't want to make a spectacle to catch attention. So possibly they were paying off the authorities and to keep it quiet and to keep it simple. There was 3 to 4 stash houses that were found between 2019 and 2024. One of them, they had a lot of migrants in them. There was also a mass grave that it was found close to this border wall on this particular, kind of like a area, in this from, let's say, from a mile to 2 mile radius. There was really controlled by the cartel. There was a lot of smuggling into the United States of America. And all of this happened, it exacerbated and it grew under Biden. Now it has totally increased the level of security, and it has increased the level of, well, basically it has increased at all. It has increased in everything. And why it has increased? Well, the situation that why it has increased is just because the level of violence, the level of insecurity, the level of trafficking, the level of abuse towards the migrants. It's just, it has gotten worse, and it was getting worse by the day. And it got worse until, one of my friends over here in Tijuana, another journalist, went over there, and she told me, Blue, I don't recommend going there, because we were trying to go there. I was trying to go back there in 2023, I believe so, or 2022. 2022. And she told me, Blue, I don't recommend you going there. And I said, like, why? And I have gone there. I know how to get around. I know a route. And she goes like, no, it is massively controlled by these people. It's no joke. They control like the whole area. They even have the Oxos controlled, the local. It's kind of like a local 7-Eleven, but it's a Mexican 7-Eleven. It's called Oxo. And they have control all of that. All the access, they have lookouts, they have, little stores before you go closer to the wall. And it's just, everything is massively, massively controlled. So it's going to be really difficult. Then she went with security, and she went with security on the American side with Border Patrol. And Border Patrol was saying, I remember these statements, and I wish that I can have that interview. Border Patrol said there was multiple shootings consistently over there. Multiple shootings because, these shootings were consistent due to the fact that, the cartel was fighting for each other. And, I found a couple of passports when I was there. I found a passport from uh, found a passport from Turkey. I found a passport from India. And let me shoot you the report that I did. A lot of you guys have seen the report possibly. Let me see if I can shoot the report. And let me see if I can let me just see if I can shoot the report for you guys to see it. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I can shoot the report so you guys can see it. This is the actual report that we did. Let me just accept the video and save it to downloads, and then I can play it for you guys so you guys can see what am I talking about. I did a 5-minute report on this. And for us to get there again, it was extremely difficult. Tijuana has gotten really difficult in terms to security and every type of security. Let me just get it right here. Hold on, right 1 minute right here, people. Let me play this video for you guys, and you guys can watch this report. Meanwhile, here we go. This was our report. I posted this video on X for the people that they haven't seen this. Also, I posted, I think, on YouTube, but I haven't played it on the live feed. Like, give it a like to the video, share the video, like the video, share the video. Buy me a coffee is right there on top. If people want to contribute to my independent reporting and travel fund, I will completely appreciate it. We're trying to travel in the next incoming days. So this is the report that we did. Nido de las Águilas, in translation, the Eagle's Nest. It is a small city located on the east side of Tijuana that has over 3,200 citizens living on this small population. It is well known for their enormous trafficking of humans and illegal migrants in through the open border gap up in the east of the mountain. But now, everything is different. The Mexican National Guard has been deployed to this particular area, which it was, under the Biden administration, one of the epicenters for mass migration into the United States of America, as they are working together with the Border Patrol and also other authorities around the same municipal city. You can see the encampment as it is really close to the place that it was the epicenter of mass migration and illegal migration into the North American territory. This is actually how it looks. We are in the limitations between Mexico right here on the right-hand side and the United States side. And actually, like you see on every single place, the cartel operating for migrants from all across the world, a passport from Turkey, a passport from India, and a birth certificate from Mexico. It tells you that this area was massively operating and crossing illegally and trafficking migrants into the United States of America from migrants from all across the globe. And now, under the Trump administration, this looks different. Border Patrol on the left-hand side, National Guard operation on the right-hand side, a couple of shoppers flying consistently through the limitations of Mexico and the United States. It tells you that the threat of a tariff between Mexico and the United States of America, implemented by Donald Trump, it is working to secure the border and to decrease the illegal crossings of migrants into the United States of America. Comparable evidence of one of the signals that illegal migration was through this particular area is the massive amount of trash just steps away before the open border gap. As you also can see, the debris of shoes of little children as they were trafficked or possibly smuggled into this particular place, which it was considered one of the most dangerous spots in the city of Tijuana. So we're walking. This is the route to cross illicitly and illegally into the United States of America. This is the route that the migrants used to use. And this community, awfully, it was controlled by the organized crime. Now you have the National Guard on the right side. You have the Border Patrol right here on the left side. And also, there were two choppers that they just came by. You will not see this back in the Biden administration. There's a camera all the way to the far end, but it was not enough under the Biden administration because of the enormous flow and illicit flow that it was continuously happening. This was the route that the migrants used to use, and then now, because of the threat of a tariff between Donald Trump to the Mexican president, this is actually now an area that is controlled. One of the inevitable questions is how many children or unaccompanied minors were trafficked or smuggled through this particular open border gap where the cartel used to control this open border area. As we have documented in the past in Middle and the Darien Gap and also in caravans in Central America, the ones that pay the consequences of the children, you actually can see debris of their shoes, every part before crossing illegally into the United States of America. Due to the threat of a tariff between Donald Trump and the president of Mexico, more than 10,000 National Guardsmen were deployed to all the north borders that connect Mexico to the United States of America. A lot of them, they were deployed to the vehicle ports of entry to decrease the level of trafficking through vehicle ports of entry, but the other ones were deployed to the mountains to stop the illegal migration that has been massively crossing to open border gaps. As we close this report from the border with Mexico and the United States in the part of Tijuana, on the east side, as you saw, there's a massive operation now by the Mexican National Guard reinforcing the border to create a massive deterrent to tackle the illegal crossings of migrants into the United States of America. But also you will see the collaboration of the American National Guard putting concertina wire on the American side. Both countries working together, and all of this happened because of Donald Trump and the threat of a tariff to Mexico. Now both countries are tackling illegal migration and the decrease of fentanyl into the United States of America. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News. Stay safe. That was our report on that particular area which we are talking about. And you get to understand. There's a couple of questions that I would like to answer right here. Um, there's people that are asking. J.R. Williams says, "I'm curious why there is a gap. Is Trump working to fill it in?" So these gaps, a lot of these gaps, that they are in really difficult areas, really difficult terrain, to basically build a to dig in, to build a wall, to drill underneath them. A lot of them have like the sewer underneath them, so it's really difficult to. That's one of the things that a lot of these places, they're not. You cannot interfere with that. Other things is because the limitation between Mexico and the United States is really difficult to be signalized. It goes it goes like in zigzag, so it's really difficult for geographically to say to here, right? But the most important one, it is PETA. As ridiculous as it sounds for people that they are listening, yes, PETA. This open border gap, it was not closed due to the wildlife. That is what PETA is basically is saying. There was other areas like in the border wall in Playas de Tijuana, next to the beach. They were putting concertina wire on the top, and immediately PETA and the progressive liberals went over there, started protesting, saying that that was affecting the wildlife, the birds, and these kind of other flying. Uh, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Eagles. Um, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So PETA was interfered and said, take that razor wire down. And they took the razor wire down and they put this little cap now. This cap is kind of like a tilted metal cap. And it's like 1 meter long and it's like 1 meter length. And they put it all the way through the length of the wall. That will not interfere with the wildlife, but it's a huge obstacle for the migrant to climb and to clinch a ladder, as the ladder cartel was doing. So, that's one of the things and one of the reasons why a lot of these places were not basically closed because of the wildlife. That's what they're saying. PETA specifically said. I went up the mountain back in 2018, up in one mountain a couple of times, and I broadcasted these things. And when I went up in the mountain, there were some places that were open. A lot of people were like, "Hey, man, and it was under the Trump administration. It's like, why they haven't closed this gap?" And it was because of PETA. PETA basically goes in there and says, no, 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 you're affecting the wildlife right here. There's, all types of animals that they go back and forth, and you're basically interfering with their wildlife. Although, I don't know why PETA is not inside of the Darien Gap, which I have been there. There's more than 60 tons of trash. The mass migration has completely destroyed the jungle, one of the most pristine in the little Amazons that is the Darien Gap, completely destroyed the wildlife, contaminated the water. It's really difficult that you're going to see that water readjust to their level of pureness into what it was before. It's going to take years. More than 60 tons of trash to get it out is basically impossible. Wildlife has completely been destroyed. Wildlife for hauling monkeys, panthers, jaguars, wild pigs, snakes, whatever you want to call it. And, this is due to the mass open border policies of Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas, and Kamala Harris completely destroyed that. I have been in that place. Ben Bergquam and myself been in that place, and we shown a thing that no other leftist network that it went in there wanted to show, that is the mass contamination and destruction of the inside of the jungle. But when it comes to the border and when it comes to the limitations between Mexico and the United States, the NGOs, way before, when the Biden administration, they had full control of the border. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people were like, why the border patrol is not detaining them, because of the global compact on migration And that had an enormous weight of possibilities for the NGOs to say you're violating their human right. Let them in, whatever you want to let them in. So these NGOs, every NGO had so much power, even they had more power than the Border Patrol, more power than any authority, because they were under international law. You heard this, and if you want to go back to statements from Congress, from your own Congress people, leftist congressional lady, Alexandria Ocasio, challenged many times Tom Homan when he was, questioned in Congress. She said to him, this is international law. So the international law is the global compact on migration. And the NGOs had so much weight and so much power. So much weight and so much power. So the NGOs were making millions of dollars out of federal grant money, American taxpayer money. But ultimately, where it was not affecting them, they did not say anything about contamination, massive disaster. Let me tell you why. Reason why is that because it was a passage. The Darien Gap was a forcing passage between life and death that basically pandered to illegal migration, and it pandered to the migrant to be persecuted. So that was a huge justification for the United Nations, OIM, and UNHCR to go in there and interfere and create this funding and this ideology that they had to open up the border. So it was a strategical. That's why they never closed it. It's exactly like these open border gap spaces, which they knew that were massively being operated and there was no wall. So they stopped the construction of the wall on these open border gaps. But when you go to the paper, I will suggest to people investigate, and I will do a live feed about that. These open border gaps, the majority that they stopped the construction, they were categorized as wildlife areas. And these wildlife areas, they stopped the construction of them because it was affecting the wildlife. And it was a huge justification for the NGO to park themselves on the other side of the border in the United States and wait for the illegal alien to come and cross and being pushed by the cartel. So the cartel knew that gap is not going to be closed. And the cartel is not stupid. They know that the mode operandi of the NGO, why they were letting that gap open. So they know because of PETA. And it is all manipulated into a system that everybody's profiting out of money. This with the cancellation of USAID was a big, big blow to their pockets. And now nobody's getting money out of, easy chunk of money out of these open border gaps. The flow through the Darien Gap has dropped to 97%. Now they have a reverse migration that we have talked about this. We knew that this was going to happen. Venezuelans now, they're migrating through Pacaraima, Brazil, that is through the south of the continent, through Brazil. Now they're migrating to Spain. And the craziest thing is they're migrating back to the place that they said that they were persecuted. This tells you that now the leftists, they're saying, stop using economical migrant. It is denigrating for a migrant. No, it's not denigrating. You're just pandering to the language. The language is so important for you because you manipulate the language for your own agenda. These are economical migrants. Economical migrants, it is because they're looking for a better job, a better life. And it's okay. Everybody has a right to look for a better life and a better job. But you're an economical migrant. This tells you that the vast majority of the people that they were coming, there were a lot of cases of persecution. And I can tell you, yes, I was witness of that. I witnessed that. I witnessed a lot of good people. But also, I witnessed the manipulation of the system. And the manipulation of the system, which drew me into this more, is the manipulation of the NGOs, which these progressive liberals are the ones that they have attacked me more because I found their end game. And because I'm brown, I'm Mexican, I was born and raised in Tijuana, they were like, come on, it can't be possible. You're against us. We're trying to help your people. No, you're not. You're trying to profit out of a humanitarian crisis. You're trying to live out of humanitarian crisis, and you're trying to live out of human misery. Meanwhile, you're living out of human misery. You're coming over here. You're preaching your garbage of your political trash of your political party into our people and manipulating our people, using our people for your political gain and votes and money. That's it. That's what you're doing. And we found this out. And, a lot of people are understanding now how this got, how we started, saying what's going on with these NGOs. I remember reporting back in 2017, 2018. One of the things that really catch my eye was these NGOs. And the first NGO that really catch my eye was a woman that it was wearing a shirt on the back that says Republican, but with the triple K, Republican, like KKK, right? So I said, "What are you doing here? What are you?" And she's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I live over here. This is where I live. Who are you?" And she was outside of a shelter where they were rioting, they were looting these activists. A lot of them, they were from Antifa. As a matter of fact, one of them, it is wanted. He's in prison. He was the one that aggressively attacked Andy No, that he actually lives in England. I'm practically sending this video to Andy No. I'm gonna send him later. This activist also aggressively attacked me in Tijuana. He has a burned face. He was over here also. And from there, I said, hell no. These liberals, they're here to profit out of this. These liberals are here not to anarchy, not to fight for the people. No, you're here to profit. And as soon as we started realizing and we started noticing that they were profiting, making fake marriages. They were found with, fraud and all these kind of things. And they started getting upset. This is a manipulated system that they use the vulnerable life and the people, our people, Latin American people, or people in the continent of Latin America, for their own profit. We know that our people are suffering, and we know that they want a better life. Reality is that these people, they saw that the necessity, they can use it for a profit. And now you can see their accounts in USAID, all the money that it was basically money laundered, and all the money that it was found, and all the money that it got stopped now from being delivered. Now imagine if they go more to investigate how much money was manipulated, how much money was given to these NGOs. I have said this before. One of the things that it needs to happen, you need to cut the federal grants to these NGOs. I said it so many times, and it happened. On top of that, you need to investigate them to find the missing children, where they were delivered. On top of that, you need to audit them. Where the money? Why are you getting all this, tax return, 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, 12 million? Why are you getting that money? And other than that, when you finish that, prosecute the people that were in cahoots, man, with the cartel. Like, you got to be kidding me. These progressive liberals that were coming over here. No More Debts was one of the organizations that was clearly working in Ajo, working in Lukeville, Arizona, smuggling, trafficking people. They were in cahoots with the cartel. And I'm not even joking about it. This is in the eyes of the world. Everybody was seeing this. Now I think it is accountability for these NGOs. And cutting the funding of these NGOs, I think, is a big chunk of possibility. Now, let's go back to the topic to close this section. Our Mexican president is getting viciously exposed, and I'm sad to say this. I had a possibility, and I had the idea that something was going to change, but it's just for her to think to change the Constitution just to protect and to justify herself that the United States is trying to come in here and invade and attack our sovereign nation. When we're getting attacked, the sovereign nation from within, she cannot even stop a war in Culiacan between Los Chapitos and Los Mallitos. And now you're trying to reform the Constitution to defend the fact that you don't want to name them as terrorists. Why you don't want to name them as terrorists? Like, how much it's taking you to name them as terrorists? You're looking horrible in the eyes of the world. Horrible. And now you have relations with these two lawyers that we just put on screen. These two lawyers that they have said bluntly, these two lawyers are the lawyers of the Mayo Zambada, which he is in prison in the United States of America. And the Mexican president is so afraid that he's going to speak because it was speculated. I'm not affirming. It was speculated that El Mayo Zambada was the one that supported the political campaign of AMLO to go be president, and also that he supported the political campaign of our current president. So if you know that they're speculating this, it would be nice if you clear it up and say, like, it's a lie. Let's name them as terrorists, but we will put our restrictions, and we will put our restrictions and our rules when it comes to our country. And we're the ones that we're going to take care of them. We need help from you, but we're the ones that we call the shots. That will be completely different. Not to get on the other side to say, no, you're not naming them as terrorists, and I'm going to change the Constitution for you to not interfere if we want to name them as terrorists. crazy now that she wants to reform the Constitution. I'm not even lying about it. I'm not even, a lot of people think that I'm go and do your research. It's everywhere. This is from AP News. If you want to be impartial, go to AP News. Let's say it like that. And it says Mexico to reform the Constitution is in wake of U.S. terrorism designations. And it says right here, Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Thursday she will propose constitutional reforms aimed at protecting Mexico's sovereignty, using the sovereignty justification. After the U.S. President Donald Trump administration designated 6 Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. The U.S. designations have stirred worried in Mexico that it could be primarily step toward U.S. military intervention on Mexican territory in pursuit of the cartels, something Mexico sharply rejects. The Mexican people, this is what Sheinbaum said, she's speaking for her audience. She's not speaking for a lot of us. We want this problem to be eradicated. She's speaking for her audience. She's not speaking on the side of me. She's not speaking a lot of people. I'm talking about millions of people. She's not speaking for those. But she says, in general, she says the Mexican people will not accept under any circumstances interventions, interference of any act from abroad that can be harmful to the integrity, independence, and sovereignty of this nation. So we're getting massively invaded by the cartels, but you're worried about getting helped. This is the craziest thing about it. So if people do not believe what I'm saying, go and do your own research. This is actually what's the next step. I think that Steve Bannon, the other, said something that it was clearly I was in the war room, speaking about this. And one of the things that Steve Bannon said is that there's 2 things that the current administration of the United States is extremely interested is in the war with Ukraine and ultimately with Russia. But the most important one is against the cartels. This is going to be huge over here because if Mexico is being pushed to a point that they need to do something about it, now the tariff is going to go in whether they like it or not. And I said this before. Not because I'm Mexican and I want my country to be affected economically and financially. No, because there's no other way to eliminate and eradicate this problem by hitting them in the pockets. And, the threat of a tariff needed to happen whether they liked it or not. And now because they haven't slowed down the pace of fentanyl and cocaine, and also we need to be real, people. The United States is the number 1 buyer of fentanyl. It's the number 1 with demand and distribution of synthetic drugs inside of the United States. The United States has a big problem inside of their country. And also the United States has a big problem with distribution of illicit guns and firearms into the cartel. We need to be real about that. The most, illicit guns and firearms come from Texas and from Arizona. That's a reality. It's a bilateral problem. So we need to fix this. Also, the letter or organizations, they're extremely involved. There's a lot of corrupt agents from the United States of America that they clearly do not want to be found guilty. So it's a huge problem. It's not just naming them as terrorists. We understand that that's the first step to get this problem eliminated. But there's the other ones that they're inside of the United States of America, which they are not being taken care of. Which they are the ones that they're paying, which they're the ones that they're the demand. You cut the demand and you make these people over here suffer with the consequences of money. So you need to cut the demand. And actually, that's the next step that it needs to be done. Hit everybody in their bank accounts, in their pockets. I think it's the next step to decrease, to decrease the level of demand and also to decrease the level of trafficking. On every and to expose the corruption like they are exposing right now in the Mexican administration and their political party, which is crazy the way that they are, being exposed right now worldwide. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for joining in. It's 12:27. We are going in 54 minutes on this live feed. God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining in. Buy me a coffee is right there, pinned in the chat for people who want to contribute to my independent reporting and travel fund. We're, planning to travel soon into another country and also do this coverage on the war of cartels. We're about to get into this more massively and get into it. And like, we need to get into it. I think there's a big possibility of us doing this work. We have to be extremely careful to talk about it and extremely careful where we're getting in. God bless you all. Thank you for your, your contributions and support. Thank you so much for joining in. It is Sunday, 2nd of March, 1228. We are about to do a live feed also in Instagram for the Spanish-speaking people. And later on, I will do this live in Spanish. God bless you. Stay safe. And like we always say, God's plan, it is our mission.